In a world where every detail of our lives is shared, where privacy is a luxury few can afford, the ancient wisdom of Stoicism offers a beacon of clarity. The Stoics knew the power of keeping certain truths hidden. Secrets that, when revealed, could weaken your resolve, disrupt your harmony, and leave you vulnerable. Today, we uncover the 33 secrets a wise Stoic never reveals. Insights that can transform your life, fortify your mind, and elevate your spirit. Let's begin with the first secret. Number 1. The battles you fought in the past. Alright, so here's the deal. We've all got our personal battles, those rough patches in life that test our mettle. But here's the kicker, not everyone needs to know about them. Seriously, it's not a secret to keep people out, but rather a way to keep your peace. Think about it. You've been through some tough stuff. Maybe it was a rough breakup, a job loss, or a health scare. These are your stories, your experiences, and they've shaped you in ways that only you can truly understand. Sharing these tales with the world might seem like a way to connect, to show how far you've come. But there's wisdom in keeping some of that journey close to the vest. First off, not everyone will get it. Your struggles, no matter how relatable you think they are, might not resonate with everyone. People see things through their own filters, colored by their own experiences. Your epic battle could be seen as just another Tuesday by someone else. And that's okay. It's not their journey, it's yours. Now, consider the emotional toll of reliving those battles every time you share them. Talking about the past can reopen old wounds, bringing up feelings you've worked hard to move past. Why go through that again? You've already fought those fights. You've already healed those scars. Every retelling can be like peeling off a scab before the wound is fully healed. Plus, let's talk about energy. Your past battles, as significant as they are, belong in the past. They've served their purpose, they've taught you, strengthened you, molded you. Constantly bringing them up can tether you to old energy, old pain. Why let the past drag you back when the present and future are waiting for you to live them fully? Focus on the now and the lessons you've carried forward, rather than the battles themselves. Here's another angle: oversharing can sometimes put you in a vulnerable spot. Not everyone has your best interests at heart. Some might use your past against you, twist your words, or judge you based on your history rather than who you are now. Protecting your story means protecting yourself from unnecessary drama and misunderstandings. Of course, this doesn't mean you should bottle everything up. Finding the balance is key. Share with those who've earned your trust, those who have shown they can handle the weight of your experiences with care and respect. These people are your inner circle, your confidants. They're the ones who deserve to hear your war stories, because they'll honor them. And let's not forget, there's a certain mystique in keeping some things to yourself. It's not about being secretive, it's about being selective. Everyone loves a little mystery. When you don't lay all your cards on the table, you maintain an air of intrigue. People don't need to know everything about you to respect and appreciate you. Sometimes, the less they know, the more they'll wonder, and that's not a bad thing. So, cherish your battles for what they are, chapters in the book of you. Let them stay on those pages, and focus on writing the new ones. After all, life isn't just about the battles you've fought, it's also about the victories you're yet to achieve. Keep your head high, your heart light, and your story close. Number 2, the specifics of your goals. You know, there's this common piece of advice floating around: share your goals with others to stay accountable. While that might work for some, the Stoic approach has a different take on this. Let's dive into why keeping the details of your goals to yourself might be the smarter move. Imagine you're pumped about a new project. You're excited, and you can't wait to tell your friends, family, and even your coworkers. But hold on a second. Think about what happens when you spill the beans. People might start offering their opinions, advice, or worse, their skepticism. Suddenly, what was once a clear and personal vision gets clouded by the expectations and judgments of others. One of the main reasons to keep your goals under wraps is to avoid unnecessary pressure. When everyone knows what you're aiming for, there's this added layer of scrutiny. Every time you see them, there might be questions about your progress. How's that book coming along, or have you started that business yet? These questions, though often well-meaning, can create a sense of urgency and stress. Instead of focusing on the journey and enjoying the process, you might start feeling like you're racing against the clock, trying to meet the expectations of those around you. Now, let's talk about motivation. There's an interesting phenomenon where talking about your goals can actually trick your brain into feeling like you've already accomplished them. It's called the social reality effect. By sharing your goals, you get a little hit of dopamine, that feel-good chemical, as if you've already made progress. This can sometimes lead to a decrease in motivation because your brain thinks you're further along than you actually are. It's like eating a piece of cake in your mind, feeling satisfied, and then not feeling the need to bake the real cake anymore. Another point to consider is that your goals are personal. They're a reflection of your dreams, aspirations, and values. When you share them with others, you open them up to interpretation and judgment. What if someone doesn't understand your vision? What if they think it's unrealistic or silly? Their doubts can seep into your subconscious, making you second-guess yourself. This can be particularly harmful if you're still in the early, fragile stages of pursuing your goal, where confidence is crucial. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control. Your goals, your effort, and your attitude are all within your control. Other people's opinions? Not so much. By keeping your goals to yourself, you maintain control over them. You decide how and when to take action without external influences swaying your decisions. This autonomy is empowering and can lead to a more genuine and fulfilling pursuit of your objectives. There's also a certain magic in the quiet hustle. Working on your goals in silence can build a sense of inner strength and resilience. It becomes a personal challenge, a test of your own willpower and determination. When you achieve those milestones, the satisfaction is purely yours. You don't need external validation to feel proud of your accomplishments. But hey, this doesn't mean you have to go it completely alone. It's still important to have a support system. Sharing your general direction or seeking advice on specific challenges can be helpful. The key is to keep the core of your goal, the specifics that matter most to you, close to your chest. This way, you protect the essence of your vision while still benefiting from the wisdom and support of those you trust. In the end, it's about balance. The Stoic approach isn't about isolation but about mindful sharing. By being selective about what you reveal, you preserve the purity of your goals and protect your motivation. So next time you're tempted to shout your ambitions from the rooftops, take a moment. Reflect. Ask yourself if sharing this detail serves you or if it's better kept as your own little secret. Embrace the quiet power of personal ambition, and let your actions speak louder than your words. Number 3, your financial situation. Next, let's talk about money. Specifically, why you might want to keep your financial situation a bit of a secret. You see, our relationship with money is deeply personal. It's tied to our sense of security, our ambitions, and sometimes, our very identity. Sharing too much about your financial status can lead to all sorts of complications, and not just the obvious ones. Imagine you're at a gathering, and the topic of income comes up. You casually mention how much you earn. Suddenly, the dynamics in the room shift. Some might see you differently, maybe with envy, maybe with pity, depending on their own situation. It's like opening Pandora's box. Once the info is out there, you can't take it back. Now, let's say you're doing well financially. Awesome, right? But if you start talking about your success, you might unintentionally make others feel inadequate. It's not that you're bragging, But money can be a touchy subject. People might start viewing you through the lens of your bank account, rather than your character. Friends might expect you to foot the bill more often, or acquaintances might come to you with loan requests. It can create a weird imbalance in relationships. On the flip side, if you're struggling, broadcasting your financial woes can also be problematic. People might offer unsolicited advice or worse, pity. While some might genuinely want to help, others might see your situation as a cautionary tale or, even worse, as gossip fodder. It can be exhausting to navigate these reactions when you're already dealing with financial stress. Then there's the professional realm. Sharing your salary or financial details at work can stir up a hornet's nest. Colleagues might compare earnings, leading to resentment or competition. If your boss finds out you've been discussing your pay, it could lead to uncomfortable conversations or even impact your career growth. Transparency has its place, but when it comes to money, discretion often serves you better. In the world of social media, where oversharing is the norm, keeping your financial situation private is a rebellious act of self-preservation. We live in an age where people flaunt their wealth, or their perception of it, with luxury cars, designer clothes, and extravagant vacations. But this curated version of life is often just that, curated. It doesn't reflect the whole picture, and comparing yourself to these snapshots can lead to unnecessary stress and dissatisfaction. Let's also talk about scammers. Yep, they're out there, lurking, waiting for a chance to exploit any piece of financial information you drop. By keeping your financial details under wraps, you're safeguarding yourself from potential fraud and identity theft. It's a simple step with significant benefits. So, what does Stoicism say about all this? The Stoics would advise against getting too attached to external things, including money. Marcus Aurelius wrote about focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you cannot. Your financial situation, to a certain extent, can be influenced by your actions, but the opinions of others are entirely out of your hands. Keeping your finances private helps you maintain a sense of inner tranquility, unruffled by external judgments or expectations. Money, in the Stoic sense, is a preferred indifferent. It's nice to have, but it's not essential for a good life. Virtue, wisdom, and character, these are the true measures of a person's worth. By keeping your financial matters private, you're not hiding anything shameful, you're simply prioritizing what truly matters. In summary, keeping your financial situation to yourself can help you avoid unnecessary complications, preserve the integrity of your relationships, and stay true to your values. It's about striking a balance between openness and discretion, understanding that some aspects of your life are best kept close to the chest. It's not about being secretive, it's about being wise. So, next time the topic of money comes up, feel free to steer the conversation elsewhere. Your future self might just thank you. Number 4, personal relationships. Let's dive into something really personal and, honestly, quite tricky, personal relationships. We all have them, right? But Stoicism teaches us that not everything about our relationships needs to be shared with the world. It's like having this beautiful garden, blooming with flowers, but sometimes, it's best to keep the gate closed and let only a few people in. Imagine this, you've just had a heart-to-heart with your best friend, sharing secrets and dreams. It feels great, and you're tempted to tell everyone about this amazing bond. But hold up. There's a beauty in keeping some things private. It's not about being secretive, it's about protecting the intimacy and trust you've built. When you plaster your personal life all over social media, you risk turning those precious moments into mere spectacles for others to judge and comment on. And trust me, not everyone has your best interests at heart. Think about the foundation of any strong relationship, trust. This trust isn't something that's easily built, right? It takes time, patience, and a lot of understanding. Now, when you start sharing the ins and outs of your relationships with the world, you might unintentionally undermine that trust. Your partner or friend might feel exposed or even betrayed. They confided in you, not the entire world. Keeping certain aspects of your relationship just between the two of you helps maintain that sacred trust. Also, consider the impact of external opinions. People love to give advice, sometimes even when it's not asked for. "Oh, you shouldn't be with him because of this," or "she said what?" That's a red flag. While some advice can be genuinely helpful, a lot of it is based on other people's biases and experiences, which might not apply to your situation at all. By keeping your relationship details private, you shield it from unnecessary scrutiny and negativity. Now, let's talk about conflicts. Every relationship has its ups and downs, right? But airing your dirty laundry in public can do more harm than good. You might get momentary sympathy, but it often comes at the cost of long-term damage. When you broadcast your arguments or misunderstandings, you invite others into your problems, and they might not always have the most constructive things to say. Instead, resolve your conflicts privately, allowing both of you to grow and learn from the experience without the added pressure of outside judgment. On a lighter note, there's something wonderfully romantic about keeping a little mystery in your relationships. Imagine this: you and your partner share a secret spot, a cozy cafe where you had your first date, or a beautiful park where you confessed your feelings. These little secrets, known only to you two, add a layer of magic to your relationship. It's like having a private world that no one else can touch, a sanctuary where your love and friendship can thrive. Let's not forget the joy of personal milestones. Remember the first time you and your partner cooked a meal together, or the time your friend helped you through a tough situation. These are golden memories. By not sharing every single detail with the world, you keep these moments special and cherished. They become stories you tell each other, reminiscing and laughing about them, rather than just another post lost in the endless scroll of social media. In the end, Stoicism teaches us that personal relationships are like rare gems. They need to be protected, nurtured, and sometimes kept out of the harsh glare of the public eye. It's about finding a balance, sharing enough to connect with others but holding back enough to keep the essence of your relationships intact. So next time you feel the urge to share every detail of your personal life, take a step back. Think about the beauty of privacy and the strength it brings to your relationships. Keep some things just for you and your loved ones. After all, some of the best stories are the ones that remain untold, whispered only in the ears of those who truly matter. Number 5. Unfiltered opinions on sensitive topics. So, you've got this burning desire to share your raw, uncut thoughts on something controversial. Maybe it's politics, religion, or one of those hot-button social issues that seem to set everyone's hair on fire. You feel passionate, and that's great. Passion is fuel for the soul. But hold on a sec, before you hit that post button or start that heated discussion at dinner, let's think this through. First off, the Stoics were all about inner tranquility and avoiding unnecessary disturbances. They believed in the idea of controlling what you can and letting go of what you can't. Now, when you throw your unfiltered opinions into the mix, you're potentially stirring up a whole lot of trouble. Think about it, people are diverse. They come with their own set of beliefs, experiences, and emotional triggers. When you lay out your raw thoughts without a filter, it's like dropping a match in a room full of gasoline. Boom! Chaos ensues. Remember, Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This doesn't mean you shouldn't express your opinions, but rather, do so with a sense of responsibility. Consider the impact of your words. Will they cause unnecessary pain or conflict? Are they likely to provoke a defensive reaction that leads to an argument rather than a constructive discussion? Here's the thing, unfiltered opinions can often come off as abrasive or insensitive, even if that's not your intention. People are naturally protective of their views, especially on sensitive topics. When you present your thoughts without considering how they might be received, you risk alienating friends, family, and colleagues. And let's face it, maintaining good relationships is a key component of a peaceful, Stoic life. Now, let's talk about the art of timing in context. Stoicism teaches us the importance of understanding the right time and place for everything. It's like knowing when to play a certain card in a game. There's wisdom in holding back until the moment is right. Blurting out your unfiltered thoughts in a heated moment can backfire spectacularly. Instead, take a breath, reflect, and choose your words carefully. A well-thought-out opinion, shared at the right moment, can be far more impactful and less likely to cause a ruckus. Think about social media for a moment. It's a platform where unfiltered opinions run rampant. People type out their thoughts in the heat of the moment and hit send without a second thought. This often leads to misunderstandings, heated arguments, and sometimes even long-lasting grudges. Stoicism encourages us to step back from the impulse to react immediately. Instead, pause, consider, and then respond, or maybe choose not to respond at all. It's also worth mentioning that when you do decide to share your opinion, doing so with empathy can make a world of difference. Imagine yourself in the other person's shoes. How would you feel receiving such an unfiltered critique? A bit of kindness and consideration can go a long way in making your message more palatable. Remember, it's not just about what you say, but how you say it. In essence, Stoicism isn't about bottling up your thoughts or being overly cautious to the point of inaction. It's about finding that sweet spot where you can express yourself honestly, yet thoughtfully. It's about being true to your principles while also respecting the principles of others. The Stoics were masters of balance. They knew how to navigate the delicate dance of personal expression and social harmony. So, next time you feel that urge to spill your unfiltered thoughts on a sensitive topic, take a moment. Reflect on the potential consequences. Weigh your words. Ask yourself if it's worth it. In doing so, you're not only practicing Stoicism, but you're also contributing to a more thoughtful, considerate world. And that, my friend, is a victory for us all. Number 6. Deep-seated anxieties and fears. First off, we all have fears. Some of us are terrified of public speaking, while others might be freaked out by spiders or heights. These are pretty common fears, and it's totally okay to share them with friends or family. But when it comes to those deeper, more personal anxieties, the ones that gnaw at your soul and keep you up at night, spilling the beans might not be the best idea. Why, you ask? Well, let's explore that. The Stoics believed in maintaining a calm and composed exterior. It's not about pretending to be invincible or emotionless, it's about cultivating a sense of resilience and control over your emotions. When you constantly share your deepest fears and anxieties, you risk becoming overly reliant on others for comfort and reassurance. This can create a cycle where you're always looking outward for solace instead of finding strength within yourself. Imagine you're constantly venting about your anxieties to your friends. At first, they might offer a shoulder to cry on or words of encouragement. But over time, this can become draining for them. They might start to feel overwhelmed or even helpless because they can't fix your problems. And let's be real, no one likes to feel like a burden. By keeping some of your deeper anxieties to yourself, you're not only protecting your own peace but also respecting the emotional boundaries of those around you. Now, let's talk about the power of perception. When you frequently share your deepest fears, you might inadvertently reinforce them. It's like feeding a stray cat, keep feeding it, and it keeps coming back. The more you talk about your anxieties, the more real and insurmountable they might seem. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and to accept what we can't. By keeping those deep-seated fears private, you're giving yourself the space to work through them internally, rather than magnifying them by constantly airing them out. There's also something to be said about the strength that comes from self-reliance. When you learn to manage your fears and anxieties on your own, you build inner resilience. It's like working out a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Stoicism encourages this kind of inner strength. It's not about isolating yourself or bottling up your emotions to the point of breaking, but about finding a healthy balance where you can face your fears head-on without needing constant external validation. That being said, it's important to recognize when you do need help. Stoicism isn't about suffering in silence. If your anxieties and fears are overwhelming and you're struggling to cope, seeking help from a professional is absolutely the right thing to do. There's a difference between managing everyday anxieties and dealing with something that requires professional support. On the flip side, keeping your deep-seated anxieties to yourself doesn't mean ignoring them. Stoicism encourages self-reflection and personal growth. Take the time to understand your fears. Journal about them. Meditate. Find healthy outlets that allow you to process these emotions without constantly seeking external reassurance. By doing this, you're not only aligning with Stoic principles but also fostering a deeper sense of self-awareness and inner peace. In the end, it's all about balance. Share what you need to, but don't feel the need to expose every fear and anxiety to the world. Protect your peace, respect the emotional boundaries of others, and find strength within yourself. That's the Stoic way. Number 7, inner criticisms and self-doubts. Alright, let's talk about those pesky inner voices, the ones that always seem to pop up when you least expect it. You know the ones I mean, those critical, nagging thoughts that tell you you're not good enough, smart enough, or just plain enough. It's like having your own personal heckler following you around all day, pointing out every little mistake and flaw. Fun, right? But here's the thing, we've all got him. Yep, even the most confident, seemingly unshakable people out there have that inner critic whispering, or sometimes shouting, in their ear. So, if you're sitting there thinking you're the only one plagued by self-doubt, think again. You're in good company, my friend. Now, the question is, what do we do about these inner criticisms? Do we let them run the show, dictating our every move and decision? Or do we take a page out of the Stoic playbook and learn to manage them? Spoiler alert, the Stoics have some pretty solid advice on this front. First off, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and a Stoic philosopher extraordinaire, was all about acknowledging these thoughts but not letting them take over. He believed in observing these criticisms from a distance, almost like watching clouds drift by. They're there, sure, but they don't have to rain on your parade. Imagine you're standing on the shore, watching the waves crash in. Each wave is a self-doubt or inner criticism. They come, they go. Some are bigger and more intimidating than others, but they all eventually retreat back into the sea. The key is to stand firm, not get swept away by the tide. Easier said than done, right? Absolutely. But with practice, it becomes more manageable. One trick is to challenge these thoughts head-on. When that voice in your head says, "You're not good enough," ask yourself, says who? More often than not, you'll find that these criticisms are based on fear, not fact. Another strategy is to reframe these thoughts. Instead of seeing them as definitive truths, treat them as hypotheses. Just because your mind says something doesn't mean it's gospel. It's just one perspective, and it's often a pretty negative one. Try looking at the situation from a different angle. What would a friend say about you? Or a mentor? Or even your past self? And here's a wild idea. What if you tried being kind to yourself? Radical, I know. But seriously, give it a shot. When you catch yourself spiraling into self-doubt, take a moment to breathe and say something kind to yourself. It doesn't have to be anything grandiose. Even a simple "you're doing your best" can make a world of difference. Let's not forget the power of action. The Stoics were big on taking action despite fear and doubt. It's easy to get stuck in your head, ruminating on all the ways things could go wrong. But taking that first step, however small, can break the cycle of negative thinking. Plus, action often leads to evidence that contradicts your self-doubts. You might find that you're more capable than you give yourself credit for. And finally, remember that it's okay to ask for help. Stoicism doesn't mean going it alone. Marcus Aurelius had his mentors and friends, and so should you. Whether it's talking to a trusted friend, a coach, or a therapist, getting an outside perspective can be incredibly grounding. They can help you see things you might have missed and remind you of your strengths. So, next time your inner critic starts yammering away, take a deep breath and remind yourself, you are not your thoughts. You have the power to choose how you respond to them. And if all else fails, remember that even Marcus Aurelius had his bad days. It's all part of the human experience. Stay resilient, keep going, and give yourself some grace. You've got this. Number 8. Personal philosophical insights. Imagine this, you've just had an epiphany about life. Maybe it's about the nature of happiness or the importance of living in the moment. You're buzzing with excitement, ready to shout it from the rooftops. But hold on a second. What if, instead, you kept that insight close to your chest? You let it simmer, integrate into your daily life, and truly transform you from within. You see, when you share these deep personal insights too freely, they can lose their power. They become just another piece of advice thrown into the chaotic mix of opinions and ideas swirling around us. Instead of being a guiding star for you, they risk being dismissed or misunderstood by others. It's kind of like watering down a potent drink, it loses its kick. Now, I'm not saying you should never share your thoughts. There's a time and place for everything. But before you start waxing philosophical at the next dinner party, ask yourself, what's my intention here? Are you sharing because you genuinely think it will help someone, or are you looking for validation? If it's the latter, maybe it's best to keep quiet. Think about the great philosophers of the past, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. They didn't go around boasting about their wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, for instance, wrote his meditations as a personal journal, not a public manifesto. It was his way of processing his thoughts, staying grounded, and reminding himself of his principles. He wasn't trying to impress anyone or start a new philosophical movement. He was simply trying to live a good life. When you keep your insights to yourself, you allow them to mature. They become a part of you, shaping your actions and decisions in subtle, profound ways. Over time, people will notice the change in you. They'll see the calmness in your demeanor, the clarity in your decisions, the kindness in your interactions. And then, when they ask you how you do it, that's your moment. That's when you can share your wisdom, not as a lecture, but as a story. A lived experience. It's also worth considering that not everyone is ready for your insights. People are on different journeys, dealing with their own struggles and learning at their own pace. What might be a groundbreaking realization for you could be overwhelming or irrelevant to someone else. By keeping your insights private, you respect their journey. You give them the space to find their own path, make their own discoveries, and grow at their own pace. Another angle to think about is the value of silence. In a world that's constantly shouting for attention, silence is a powerful statement. It's a way of saying, I don't need external validation. I'm confident in my beliefs and content in my journey. It's a quiet strength that speaks volumes. So, next time you have a profound thought, savor it. Let it sink in. Reflect on it in your journal, meditate on it during a walk, or simply sit with it in silence. Let it change you, guide you, and deepen your understanding of the world. And when the time is right, when someone genuinely seeks your perspective, share it with humility and grace. In the end, your personal philosophical insights are your own. They're the result of your unique experiences, challenges, and reflections. They're precious and powerful, not because of their grandeur, but because of the quiet strength they give you. So, guard them well, and let them be a beacon for you in the journey of life. Number 9. Vulnerabilities and weaknesses. First off, sharing your vulnerabilities and weaknesses with just anyone isn't always the best move. Imagine you're at a party, and someone casually asks how you're doing. It's tempting to open up and spill your guts about that big project you're failing at or that relationship that's on the rocks. But here's the kicker: sometimes, not everyone is equipped to handle that level of honesty. They might not know how to respond, or worse, they might use that information against you. People can be judgmental, and that's just a fact of life. So, what's a Stoic to do? Keep those vulnerabilities close, my friend. It's not about pretending they don't exist or shoving them into some dark corner of your mind. It's about knowing when and where to share them. Think of it like this: your vulnerabilities are like delicate plants. They need the right environment to grow and be nurtured. Share them with the wrong person, and they might get trampled. You know who's great at handling your vulnerabilities? Someone who genuinely cares about you. Maybe it's a close friend, a family member, or even a therapist. These are the people who can offer support and guidance without judgment. They can help you navigate your weaknesses and turn them into strengths. It's not about airing your dirty laundry for everyone to see. It's about seeking help from those who truly want the best for you. Marcus Aurelius, that wise old Roman emperor, had a lot to say about this. He wasn't one to parade his weaknesses around for all to see. Instead, he reflected on them privately, in his journal. He acknowledged his flaws and worked on them in silence. There's something powerful about that. It's like having a quiet conversation with yourself, acknowledging that you're not perfect, but committing to self-improvement. But here's the flip side: don't bottle everything up to the point where you're bursting at the seams. Stoicism isn't about being a stone-cold statue. It's about finding balance. You need to acknowledge your vulnerabilities to yourself first. Own them. Accept them. And then, decide who in your life has earned the right to hear them. Let's talk about work for a minute. In a professional setting, sharing your weaknesses can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, a bit of vulnerability can make you more relatable and approachable. On the other hand, you don't want to give anyone the ammunition to doubt your capabilities. So, here's a tip: share strategically. If you're struggling with a project, it's okay to ask for help, but frame it in a way that shows you're proactive and committed to finding a solution. Something like, "I'm hitting a roadblock with this task. Do you have any insights that could help me push through?" See, you're not just airing your weakness, you're seeking collaboration. And what about social media? Oh boy, that's a minefield. It's easy to get caught up in the highlight reel, where everyone seems to be living their best life. But oversharing your struggles online can backfire. Not everyone on your friend list has your best interests at heart. Instead of a supportive response, you might get unsolicited advice or, worse, silence. If you must share, do it thoughtfully. Maybe post about overcoming a challenge rather than venting in the heat of the moment. Remember, being stoic doesn't mean being invulnerable. It's about understanding your weaknesses and managing them wisely. It's okay to be vulnerable with yourself. In fact, it's necessary. Self-reflection is a cornerstone of Stoicism. By acknowledging your weaknesses, you can work on them, turning them into strengths over time. In the end, vulnerabilities are part of what makes us human. They're not something to be ashamed of, but they're also not something to be broadcasted to the world. Share them wisely, protect them fiercely, and use them as stepping stones on your path to becoming a better version of yourself. Number 10. Spiritual practices and rituals. Imagine this: you're up before the sun, meditating in your cozy corner, maybe a candle flickering gently beside you. This is your sacred time, a ritual that centers you, prepares you for whatever the day throws your way. Sharing this might sound harmless, but think about how it could be perceived. Your well-meaning routine could quickly become fodder for misunderstanding or, worse, judgment. Let's break it down. Spiritual practices and rituals are like fingerprints, uniquely ours. They're crafted from our experiences, our beliefs, our needs. What calms your mind might not even make sense to someone else. Picture telling your coworker about how you chant mantras every morning. Some might find it enlightening, but others could see it as odd. And there you go, something precious to you, now a topic for office gossip. Now, here's the thing. When you expose these rituals to others, you risk diluting their power. These practices are potent because they're personal. They're crafted from our unique blend of history, culture, and spirituality. When shared, they can lose that magic, becoming mere activities rather than transformative experiences. Ever noticed how our deepest spiritual moments are often solitary? There's a reason monks retreat into silence, why people embark on solo pilgrimages. It's in solitude that we truly connect with the divine, the universe, or whatever higher power we believe in. Sharing these moments can sometimes feel like trying to describe a sunset to someone who wasn't there. It just doesn't translate. Take journaling, for instance. Many of us pour our hearts out on paper, exploring our fears, hopes, and dreams. This ritual can be incredibly cathartic, helping us navigate life's complexities. Now, imagine sharing your journal with others. The raw, unfiltered thoughts you jot down might be misunderstood or criticized, turning a therapeutic practice into a source of anxiety. There's also the aspect of external validation. When we share our spiritual practices, we might unconsciously seek approval. Will they think it's cool? Will they get it? This craving for validation can taint the purity of our rituals. Spirituality is meant to be a sanctuary from the chaos of the world, not another arena for seeking likes or acceptance. Let's not forget about the social dynamics. We live in a world that loves to label and categorize. Share your spiritual practice, and you might find yourself pigeonholed. Oh, she's into that new age stuff, or he's super religious. These labels can be limiting, reducing the richness of our spiritual lives to mere stereotypes. So, how do we navigate this? How do we protect our sacred rituals while living in an interconnected world? It's about boundaries. It's perfectly okay to keep some things to yourself. Not every part of our lives needs to be shared or explained. There's power in mystery, in holding some things close to our chest. Of course, this doesn't mean we can't ever discuss our spirituality. Finding like-minded individuals who share our beliefs can be incredibly enriching. But it's about discernment, knowing when and with whom to share. It's about preserving the sanctity of our practices while also finding community. In the end, our spiritual practices and rituals are our personal anchors in a turbulent world. They're our private dialogues with the universe, our moments of stillness amid the noise. Keeping them to ourselves isn't about secrecy, it's about preserving their integrity, their power. So, next time you light that candle or sit in meditation, relish the solitude. It's your moment, just for you, and that's perfectly okay. Number 11, Secrets of your self-discipline methods. Alright, let's dive deep into something crucial yet often overlooked, the secrets of your self-discipline methods. Now, I get it, talking about self-discipline can seem a bit dry, but stick with me here. We're not going for a lecture, we're aiming for a heart-to-heart chat. Imagine you've found this killer technique that helps you wake up at 5 a.m. every day, hit the gym, and crush your goals like a pro. It's your secret sauce, your golden ticket to productivity. But should you broadcast this to everyone you meet? Probably not. Here's why keeping it under wraps might be the best move. First off, let's talk about the magic of mystery. When you keep your self-discipline techniques to yourself, you maintain a sense of personal power. It's like having a secret weapon that gives you an edge. Think of it like Batman. He doesn't go around telling everyone how he trains or what gadgets he uses. He just gets the job done. There's something incredibly empowering about having a personal method that's yours alone. It's a part of what makes you, well, you. Now, let's get into the practical side of things. Ever noticed how when you share a goal or a technique, you get a flood of advice? Everyone suddenly becomes an expert, giving you tips on how to tweak or improve your method. It can be overwhelming and, honestly, a bit annoying. You might find yourself second-guessing your approach, even if it's been working perfectly for you. Keeping your methods private shields you from this unsolicited input and helps you stay focused on what works for you. Another thing to consider is the potential for judgment. We all have different ways of staying disciplined. Maybe your method involves a bit of tough love or unconventional routines. When you share these, you open yourself up to criticism. People might not understand your approach and could judge you for it. By keeping it to yourself, you avoid this negativity and protect your mental space. Then there's the social pressure aspect. Once you share your techniques, there's an unspoken expectation to stick to them perfectly. You might feel pressured to maintain an image of flawless discipline, which isn't realistic. Everyone slips up now and then. When your methods are private, you give yourself room to be human, to make mistakes, and to get back on track without feeling like the world is watching. Let's not forget the element of surprise. When people see your consistent results but don't know the magic behind it, it adds a layer of intrigue. They might wonder how you're always so on top of things. It sets you apart in a subtle yet powerful way. And who doesn't like a bit of mystery? Also, let's be real, sometimes, talking about your methods can dilute their effectiveness. The more you talk about it, the less it feels like a sacred ritual and more like just another task. Keeping it close to your chest helps maintain its specialness, its sanctity. It's like your personal ritual, something that grounds you and keeps you centered. And here's the kicker, by not sharing your secrets, you also avoid setting others up for disappointment. What works for you might not work for them. Everyone's journey to self-discipline is unique. When people try to replicate your method and fail, it can be disheartening for them. By keeping your methods private, you allow others the freedom to find what works best for them without the pressure of living up to your standards. So, next time you're tempted to spill the beans on how you stay so disciplined, take a step back. Think about the power of keeping some things to yourself. It's not about being secretive or selfish, it's about maintaining your personal power, protecting your mental space, and allowing others to find their path. After all, self-discipline is a deeply personal journey. Embrace the mystery, and let your results speak for themselves. In the next section, let's discuss some habits that can help transform your life. Number 1. Cultivate a view from above. Alright, picture this. You're having one of those days where everything feels like it's falling apart. Maybe you spilled coffee on your favorite shirt, missed an important deadline, or had an argument with a friend. It's so easy to get caught up in these moments, feeling like the universe is conspiring against you. But here's where the magic of the view from above comes in. Imagine you're in a hot air balloon, slowly rising up into the sky. As you ascend, the details of your life start to blur. You see your house, your neighborhood, your city, and eventually, the entire world. From up there, those little problems that seemed so huge just minutes ago? They start to look pretty tiny, don't they? This practice is all about gaining perspective. When you zoom out on your life, you start to see how small some of your problems really are in the grand scheme of things. It's like a mental reset button, helping you to refocus on what truly matters. And let me tell you, it's liberating. Now, let's get a bit personal. I remember a particular Tuesday when everything seemed to go wrong. My alarm didn't go off, my car wouldn't start, and I had this massive project due at work. I was spiraling, feeling completely overwhelmed. That's when I decided to try this view from above thing. I closed my eyes and imagined myself floating above my house, then my city. As I drifted higher, I visualized the earth itself, spinning slowly in the vastness of space. I saw all the people going about their lives, each with their own problems and stories. Suddenly, my broken car and looming deadline felt like just a tiny blip in the grand tapestry of existence. And you know what? It worked. My stress started to melt away. I felt a sense of calm wash over me. It was like I had tapped into this reservoir of inner peace that I didn't even know existed. From that high-up perspective, I could see that life would go on, and these challenges were just temporary hurdles. Another thing I love about this practice is how it helps cultivate empathy. When you're up there, looking down at the world, you realize that everyone is dealing with their own stuff. It's easy to get so wrapped up in our own problems that we forget others are struggling too. This broader view helps foster a sense of connection and compassion. Think about it, that person who cut you off in traffic? Maybe they're rushing to the hospital. The coworker who snapped at you. They could be dealing with some heavy stuff at home. Seeing things from this elevated perspective reminds us that we're all in this together, each fighting our own battles. I also started using this technique to tackle decision-making. When faced with a tough choice, I'd take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Will this decision matter in a week? A month? A year? This habit has helped me avoid a lot of unnecessary stress and make more thoughtful, deliberate choices. And here's a fun twist, you can apply this to positive experiences too. When something wonderful happens, zoom out and savor it. See how this good moment fits into the larger context of your life. It makes the joy even sweeter and helps you appreciate the good times even more. Incorporating the view from above into my daily routine was like opening a window to a new way of thinking. It's so simple, yet incredibly powerful. It's a reminder that no matter how overwhelming life gets, we always have the ability to rise above and gain perspective. So, if you're looking for a quick yet profound way to shift your mindset, give this a try. Next time you're stressed or overwhelmed, take a mental journey up into the sky and look down at your life from above. It just might change everything. Number 2, practice negative visualization. Negative visualization is all about imagining the worst-case scenarios. Yep, you heard me right. Picture those things that could go wrong. But hold on, it's not about being a pessimist. It's more like being a realistic optimist, if that makes sense. By visualizing what could potentially go wrong, you end up appreciating what you have a whole lot more. It's like when you misplace your phone and suddenly realize how crucial it is to your daily life. Except, in this case, you're doing it on purpose and with everything that matters to you. Let's say you're about to give a big presentation at work. Your mind starts racing. What if I mess up? What if I forget my lines? What if the tech fails? Now, instead of letting these thoughts paralyze you with fear, you lean into them. Imagine each scenario vividly. Feel the embarrassment of fumbling your words, the frustration of a PowerPoint that won't load, and the awkward silence of an audience waiting for you to get it together. Sounds stressful, right? But here's the twist. Once you've fully embraced these fears in your mind, something magical happens. They lose their grip on you. You start to realize that even if the worst happens, it's not the end of the world. You can handle it. You've already faced it in your mind, and now you're ready for whatever comes your way. Plus, when you step up to give that presentation and everything goes smoothly, you'll feel an immense wave of gratitude. You'll appreciate the smooth-running tech, the confident delivery of your lines, and the engaged faces of your audience. It's like a mental trick that shifts your mindset from dread to gratitude. Another angle to think about is relationships. Consider the people you hold dear, your partner, your friends, your family. Now, imagine life without them. Picture the void, the loneliness, the heartache. It's tough, but it's a powerful reminder of how important they are to you. When you see them again, you'll likely feel a renewed sense of appreciation and love. You'll hug a little tighter, listen a little more intently, and cherish the moments you have together. I tried this with my morning coffee ritual. Normally, I gulp down my coffee while scrolling through my phone, barely noticing it. But with negative visualization, I imagined a week without coffee. No rich aroma, no warm cup to start my day, no caffeine kick to wake me up. The thought was painful. So, the next morning, I took my time. I savored each sip, felt the warmth of the mug in my hands, and truly enjoyed the flavor. It turned a mundane habit into a mini celebration. This practice also works wonders for those nagging little worries. You know, the ones that keep you up at night. What if I lose my job? What if my car breaks down? What if I get sick? By proactively imagining these scenarios, you not only prepare yourself mentally but also start to think of practical solutions. If I lose my job, I can tap into my savings and start networking immediately. If my car breaks down, I've got a reliable mechanic and a good public transport system to fall back on. You're not just worrying anymore, you're strategizing. Negative visualization isn't about living in fear. It's about embracing reality, the good and the bad, and finding peace in knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you. It's about appreciating what you have while being prepared for what you don't want. It's a mental exercise that, with a bit of practice, can transform your outlook on life. You become more resilient, more grateful, and oddly enough, more optimistic. Because once you've faced your fears, you realize they're not as scary as you thought. You're stronger and more capable than you ever imagined. So, give it a try this week. Embrace the what-ifs and watch your perspective shift. Number 3, journaling daily reflections. Alright, so let's talk about journaling. I know, you've probably heard it a million times, but trust me, there's a reason it's so often recommended. When I first picked up this habit, I had no idea how transformative it would be. I mean, how much can scribbling a few words on paper really change your life, right? But, boy, was I wrong. Let me take you through my journey with daily reflections and how it can work wonders for you too. First off, let's set the scene. Imagine you're winding down after a long day. You've been bombarded with meetings, errands, and the usual chaos that life throws at you. Your mind is swirling with thoughts, some good, some bad, some downright confusing. This is where journaling steps in like a superhero. Grab a notebook, any notebook, and just start writing. It doesn't have to be pretty or even make much sense at first. The point is to let your thoughts flow freely. When I started, my entries were all over the place. One day I'd be ranting about how my coffee machine betrayed me, and the next, I'd be pondering the meaning of life. But that's the beauty of it, there are no rules. You can vent, reflect, dream, plan, or just doodle if that's what your heart desires. Over time, you'll notice patterns in your thoughts and behaviors. And this, my friend, is where the magic happens. By jotting down my daily reflections, I began to see recurring themes. For example, I noticed I often felt overwhelmed by certain tasks. I realized that my stress wasn't just about the tasks themselves, but how I approached them. This awareness allowed me to strategize and tackle my workload more efficiently. Suddenly, I was no longer drowning in stress but managing it like a pro. Another cool thing about journaling is how it helps you connect with your emotions. I used to think I was pretty in touch with my feelings, but writing them down revealed layers I hadn't even considered. There's something about putting pen to paper that makes emotions more tangible. It's like having a conversation with yourself, a heart-to-heart where you can be completely honest. On the days when life felt particularly heavy, my journal became my sanctuary. I'd pour out my frustrations and, in the process, often stumble upon solutions or at least a fresh perspective. It's amazing how writing can untangle the knots in your mind. Plus, there's a sense of relief in seeing your worries laid out in front of you. They become less daunting and more manageable. But let's not forget the good stuff. Journaling isn't just for venting or solving problems, it's also a space to celebrate your wins, big or small. I made it a point to jot down at least one positive thing that happened each day. It could be anything, from acing a presentation to enjoying a delicious meal. Over time, these little nuggets of positivity add up, creating a reservoir of good vibes to draw from on tougher days. 1 week into my journaling habit, I already felt a shift. My mind was clearer, my mood lighter, and my sense of purpose stronger. It's like I had a secret weapon for navigating life's ups and downs. And the best part? It's a habit that's entirely yours. You can mold it to fit your life, your schedule, and your personality. Some days, I'd write pages and pages, while on others, just a few lines. And that's perfectly okay. There's no right or wrong way to do it. The key is consistency. Even if you only manage a couple of minutes each day, it's enough to make a difference. So, if you're looking for a habit that can genuinely change your life in just a week, give journaling a shot. Embrace the messiness, the randomness, and the honesty. Trust me, you'll uncover insights about yourself that you never knew existed. And who knows? You might just fall in love with the process, just like I did. Happy journaling! Number 4, Dichotomy of Control. Next, let's dive into the dichotomy of control and how it can turn your life around in just a week. This idea might sound a bit philosophical at first, but trust me, it's got some serious practical power. Picture this: you're stressing over an upcoming presentation, worrying about what your boss will think, and fretting over whether the tech will glitch. Sound familiar? Now, what if I told you that by focusing only on what you can control, you'd feel a weight lift off your shoulders? Here's the deal. The dichotomy of control is all about splitting the world into 2 buckets, things you can control and things you can't. Simple, right? But putting it into practice is where the magic happens. Let's break it down. First off, take a deep breath and grab a piece of paper. Draw a line down the middle. On the left, jot down all the things you're stressing about that are out of your control. This could be the weather, other people's opinions, or even your past mistakes. On the right, write down what you can control: your effort, your attitude, your response to situations. When I did this exercise, it was like a light bulb went off. Suddenly, all those worries that were gnawing at me seemed less significant. I realized that I had been wasting so much energy on things I couldn't change. Now, let's say you're gearing up for that big presentation. Instead of spiraling into a vortex of what-ifs, focus on what you can do. You can prepare thoroughly, practice your speech, and make sure your slides are top-notch. When you shift your energy to these controllable factors, you're not only more productive but also way calmer. This isn't just about work. The dichotomy of control applies to every nook and cranny of life. Relationships, for instance. You can't control how others behave, but you can control how you react. When someone snaps at you, you have the power to choose your response. You can lash out, or you can stay calm and try to understand where they're coming from. This simple shift in mindset can prevent so many unnecessary conflicts and bring a sense of peace. And let's talk about the real kicker: social media. Oh boy, social media can be a minefield of comparison and stress. Scrolling through endless highlight reels can make you feel like you're constantly falling short. But here's the twist: you can't control what others post or how many likes they get. What you can control is how much time you spend on these platforms and how you let them affect you. Set some boundaries, follow accounts that uplift you, and remember that everyone's life looks a lot messier behind the scenes. In just a week of practicing the dichotomy of control, you'll start to notice a change. You'll feel lighter, more focused, and oddly enough, more in control. It's like decluttering your mind. By letting go of the things you can't change, you make space for what truly matters. I remember a moment when this really hit home for me. I was stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. My initial reaction was to stress out, but then I remembered the dichotomy of control. I couldn't do anything about the traffic, but I could control how I spent that time. So, I turned on a podcast I'd been meaning to listen to and arrived at the meeting a bit more informed and a lot less frazzled. This shift in mindset doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent. Quite the opposite. By focusing on what you can control, you become more proactive and resilient. You start to see challenges as opportunities to practice your skills and grow. So, give it a try. Next time you're feeling overwhelmed, pause and sort your worries into those two buckets. It might seem small, but this habit can ripple out into every part of your life, making you calmer, more focused, and ultimately, happier. And who doesn't want that? Number 5. Focus on what you can control. Picture this: you're in a boat, rowing through a storm. The waves are monstrous, the sky's dark, and it feels like the whole world is out to get you. Now, you can spend all your energy cursing the storm, or you can grip those oars tighter and row like your life depends on it. Guess which one's more productive? So, here I am, a few months back, neck deep in stress about things that were way out of my control. Work deadlines, people's opinions, unpredictable weather, you name it, I was stressing over it. Then, I stumbled upon a little nugget of wisdom from the Stoics: focus on what you can control. It sounded simple, almost too simple, but I decided to give it a shot. What did I have to lose? Day 1 was all about awareness. I started paying attention to my thoughts, which, let me tell you, were all over the place. Anytime I caught myself fretting over something like a late email reply or the stock market, I stopped. I asked myself, can I control this? More often than not, the answer was a big, fat no. This realization was like a weight off my shoulders. I mean, why waste mental energy on things that are completely beyond my reach? By the middle of the week, this mindset started to shift how I handled my day-to-day activities. Take my morning routine, for instance. Instead of rushing around and stressing about the traffic, which, spoiler alert, I couldn't control, I focused on what I could. I got up a bit earlier, enjoyed my coffee without checking my phone, and left the house with a clear, calm mind. The result? I felt less frazzled and more in control of my day. Work was another battlefield where this principle made a huge difference. Let's face it, the workplace is filled with unpredictable elements, from last-minute project changes to the moods of colleagues. Instead of getting worked up about these external factors, I zeroed in on my actions and reactions. I organized my tasks, prioritized what was important, and approached my work with a sense of calm determination. If something went sideways, I adapted and moved on, rather than dwelling on the frustration. Personal relationships saw a transformation too. I used to be a bit of a people pleaser, constantly worrying about what others thought of me. But during this week, I started focusing on my own behavior and responses. I can't control if someone has a bad day or if they misinterpret my words, but I can control how I express myself and how I respond to them. This shift not only eased my anxiety but also improved my interactions with others. I was more present, more authentic. Now, let's talk about the unexpected bonus: mental clarity. With less mental clutter about uncontrollable things, my mind felt sharper. I found myself being more creative, more focused. It's like decluttering a messy room. Suddenly, you have space to breathe, think, and create. Of course, this wasn't some magic cure-all. There were moments of slip-ups and old habits trying to creep back in. But the beauty of this principle is its simplicity and flexibility. Whenever I felt overwhelmed, I reminded myself of the basics. Can I control this? If the answer was no, I let it go. By the end of the week, I felt like a different person. The stormy seas were still there, but my boat felt steadier. I wasn't wasting energy on the waves, I was directing it towards rowing, towards progress. Focusing on what I could control didn't just change my week, it changed my entire approach to life. It's a habit that, once you start, you realize just how much unnecessary weight you were carrying. So, grab those oars and start rowing. You've got this. And that wraps up the habits that have transformed my life in just 1 week through the power of Stoicism. If you found these insights valuable, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit from a dose of Stoic wisdom. Remember, it's not about the drastic changes but the small, consistent habits that lead to profound transformation. In the last section, let's discuss some ways excess kindness will quickly ruin your life.
Number 1. Neglecting self-care. Neglecting self-care is one of the most detrimental consequences of excessive kindness. From a Stoic perspective, maintaining a balance between helping others and taking care of oneself is crucial. The Stoics, including Marcus Aurelius, emphasized the importance of self-discipline and self-awareness. They believed that one must first achieve inner harmony to be truly effective in assisting others. Neglecting self-care disrupts this balance, leading to burnout and a diminished capacity to contribute meaningfully to the lives of those around you. Imagine Tina, a dedicated nurse who embodies kindness. She works long hours, often volunteering for extra shifts to cover for her colleagues. Tina's patients adore her, and her colleagues admire her dedication. However, beneath her seemingly unbreakable exterior, Tina is struggling. She rarely takes breaks, skips meals, and forgoes sleep to ensure that her patients receive the best care possible. She believes that her sacrifices are necessary and virtuous, aligning with her values of compassion and service. At first glance, Tina's actions seem commendable, but they mask a deeper issue. By constantly prioritizing others' needs over her own, Tina is neglecting her self-care. This imbalance is unsustainable. The Stoic principle of self-discipline teaches that one must maintain their physical and mental health to serve others effectively. Tina's relentless dedication, while noble, is eroding her well-being. She begins to experience chronic fatigue, irritability, and a sense of overwhelming stress. Her performance at work starts to decline, and she finds it increasingly difficult to provide the high level of care she once did. The turning point comes when Tina collapses at work due to exhaustion. Her body has finally reached its limit, forcing her to confront the consequences of her excessive kindness. During her recovery, she reflects on her approach and realizes that her neglect of self-care has not only harmed her but also diminished her ability to care for her patients. This moment of clarity is pivotal. Tina understands that true kindness must include kindness towards oneself. Inspired by Stoic teachings, Tina decides to implement changes in her life. She begins to set boundaries at work, ensuring she takes regular breaks and gets enough rest. She starts practicing mindfulness and meditation, embracing the Stoic practice of daily reflection. Tina learns to say no when necessary, understanding that doing so is not a sign of selfishness but a necessary step to preserve her well-being. As Tina's self-care improves, so does her capacity to help others. She becomes more focused, energetic, and resilient. Her interactions with patients and colleagues are more positive and effective. By prioritizing her health, Tina exemplifies the Stoic ideal of maintaining inner harmony to better serve the world. Tina's story illustrates a fundamental Stoic lesson. Excessive kindness that leads to self-neglect is ultimately counterproductive. True kindness requires a balance between serving others and caring for oneself. By neglecting self-care, we not only harm ourselves but also compromise our ability to be genuinely kind and helpful to others. The Stoics remind us that we must cultivate our well-being to sustain our capacity for kindness and compassion. Through this balance, we achieve a more profound and lasting impact on the world around us. Number 2. Enabling bad behavior. Excessive kindness, while often well-intentioned, can inadvertently enable bad behavior in others, creating a cycle that is detrimental to both parties involved. From a Stoic perspective, true kindness is not about indulgence or permissiveness, but about fostering virtuous character and promoting justice. The Stoics believed in the importance of wisdom and discernment in all interactions, ensuring that our actions support the development of virtue in ourselves and others. One of the core tenets of Stoicism is the pursuit of wisdom, which includes understanding the nature of human behavior and the consequences of our actions. When kindness is applied without discernment, it can become a form of enabling, allowing others to persist in harmful behaviors without facing the natural consequences of their actions. This kind of misguided kindness undermines the Stoic principles of justice and personal responsibility. Justice, according to the Stoics, is about giving each person their due and ensuring that our actions contribute to the common good. Enabling bad behavior through excessive kindness violates this principle by creating an environment where negative actions go unchecked. When individuals do not experience the repercussions of their actions, they are less likely to reflect on their behavior and make necessary changes. This lack of accountability perpetuates a cycle of harm that affects both the individual and the broader community. Moreover, the Stoics emphasize the importance of personal responsibility and self-discipline. By enabling bad behavior, we deny others the opportunity to develop these essential virtues. When we shield individuals from the consequences of their actions, we impede their growth and prevent them from learning valuable lessons. This is not true kindness, but a form of harm that stunts their moral and personal development. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we should be careful about the assistance we provide, ensuring that it does not foster dependency or weakness. He emphasized the need for discernment, urging us to consider whether our actions genuinely benefit the recipient in the long term. Excessive kindness that enables bad behavior fails this test, as it does not contribute to the recipient's growth or well-being. Instead, it creates a dependency that is antithetical to the Stoic ideal of fostering self-reliance and virtue. Furthermore, enabling bad behavior through excessive kindness can have a corrosive effect on our own character. The Stoics believed in the interconnectedness of virtue, where our actions influence not only others but also our own moral development. By allowing and excusing harmful behaviors, we compromise our integrity and stray from the path of virtue. This erosion of character can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and guilt, as we recognize the negative impact of our misguided kindness. To align with Stoic principles, kindness must be guided by wisdom and justice. It requires us to be mindful of the long-term effects of our actions and to prioritize the development of virtue in ourselves and others. This means being willing to set boundaries, hold people accountable, and sometimes say no when necessary. True kindness is about supporting the growth and well-being of others, which often involves allowing them to face the consequences of their actions. In practice, this Stoic approach to kindness might seem harsh or unfeeling, but it is rooted in a deep respect for the potential of each individual to grow and improve. By fostering an environment where personal responsibility and accountability are emphasized, we encourage others to develop the virtues necessary for a fulfilling and meaningful life. This is the essence of Stoic kindness, a commitment to helping others achieve their highest potential, even when it requires difficult conversations and tough love. In conclusion, excessive kindness that enables bad behavior is a deviation from true Stoic virtue. It undermines justice, impedes personal growth, and erodes our own character. By embracing the Stoic principles of wisdom, justice, and personal responsibility, we can practice a form of kindness that truly benefits others and promotes a virtuous and harmonious society. Number 3. Loss of personal boundaries. One of the profound consequences of excessive kindness is the erosion of personal boundaries. From a Stoic perspective, maintaining personal boundaries is essential for living a virtuous and fulfilling life. The Stoics emphasize the importance of self-control, wisdom, and the recognition of what is within our control and what is not. When we fail to establish and uphold personal boundaries, we not only compromise our own well-being but also diminish our capacity to interact with others in a meaningful and balanced way. Imagine John, a diligent employee who is always willing to help his colleagues. His kindness is well known in the office. He never says no to any request for assistance, even if it means working late or sacrificing his weekends. John's colleagues frequently ask him to cover their shifts, handle their projects, or offer advice on personal matters. While John believes he is being a good friend and colleague by always being available, he is, in fact, losing sight of his own needs and boundaries. At first, John's willingness to help is appreciated by his colleagues. They see him as reliable and generous. However, as time goes on, the requests for his time and energy increase. John begins to feel overwhelmed and exhausted, but he continues to say yes, fearing that setting boundaries would make him appear unkind or uncooperative. This constant state of giving without regard for his own limits leads to burnout. He becomes less effective at work, his stress levels soar, and his personal life begins to suffer. The Stoic philosopher Seneca emphasized the importance of self-awareness and self-discipline. He taught that we must guard our time and energy carefully, as they are limited resources. By failing to establish personal boundaries, John is not practicing true Stoic kindness. Instead, he is allowing himself to be depleted and, as a result, becomes less capable of offering genuine help. John's situation illustrates a key Stoic principle: understanding what is within our control. Our ability to set and maintain personal boundaries is within our control, while others' reactions to those boundaries are not. By trying to please everyone and saying yes to all requests, John is attempting to control others' perceptions and avoid potential conflicts, which is ultimately a futile endeavor. The Stoics remind us that we cannot control how others respond to our boundaries, but we can control our decision to establish and uphold them. As John's health and well-being decline, he reaches a breaking point. He realizes that his excessive kindness and lack of boundaries are not sustainable. Inspired by Stoic teachings, John decides to make a change. He starts by reflecting on his values and priorities, recognizing that he must first take care of himself to be truly effective in helping others. He learns to say no politely but firmly, understanding that setting boundaries is a form of self-respect and self-care. For example, when a colleague asks John to take on an additional project, he evaluates his current workload and recognizes that accepting this task would compromise his ability to complete his existing responsibilities. Instead of saying yes out of a misplaced sense of kindness, John responds with, "I would love to help, but I am currently at capacity with my workload. Perhaps we can find another solution together." This approach maintains his boundaries while still offering support in a constructive way. As John becomes more adept at setting boundaries, he notices a significant improvement in his overall well-being. He feels more energized, focused, and capable of delivering high-quality work. His colleagues, initially surprised by his newfound assertiveness, come to respect his boundaries and begin to manage their own tasks more independently. The overall dynamic in the office improves as everyone learns to take more responsibility for their own work. In conclusion, the loss of personal boundaries due to excessive kindness is a significant issue that can lead to burnout and diminished effectiveness. From a Stoic perspective, maintaining boundaries is crucial for living a balanced and virtuous life. By understanding what is within our control and practicing self-discipline, we can establish boundaries that protect our well-being and enhance our ability to help others meaningfully. John's journey illustrates the transformative power of setting personal boundaries, ultimately leading to a more harmonious and fulfilling life. Number 4. Ignoring justice. In the Stoic framework, justice is one of the cardinal virtues, alongside wisdom, courage, and temperance. It represents fairness, equity, and the appropriate allocation of resources and responsibilities. Excessive kindness, however, can lead to an erosion of justice, as it may cause us to overlook the necessity of holding people accountable for their actions. From a Stoic perspective, true kindness does not ignore the principles of justice but upholds them to foster a balanced and harmonious society. The Stoics believe that justice is fundamental to maintaining order and virtue within a community. When we allow excessive kindness to cloud our judgment, we risk creating an environment where fairness is compromised. This can lead to a situation where individuals are not held accountable for their actions, which undermines the moral fabric of society. Justice demands that we treat others with fairness and integrity, ensuring that everyone is subject to the same standards and consequences. Excessive kindness can manifest in various ways, such as constantly forgiving harmful behavior without requiring any form of restitution or change. This misplaced kindness can send a message that negative actions have no consequences, which can embolden individuals to continue their detrimental behavior. The Stoics would argue that this is not true kindness, as it fails to address the root of the problem and ultimately harms both the individual and the community. To the Stoics, justice is not about punishment but about correction and improvement. When someone behaves unjustly, it is our duty to address the behavior in a way that promotes growth and learning. Excessive kindness that avoids confrontation and accountability deprives individuals of the opportunity to reflect on their actions and make necessary changes. This avoidance is a disservice to the individual's potential for growth and the community's well-being. Furthermore, ignoring justice in the name of kindness can lead to resentment and imbalance within a community. When people see that harmful actions are tolerated without consequence, it can create a sense of injustice and inequality. Those who strive to live virtuously may feel demotivated if they perceive that their efforts are not recognized or valued. The Stoics would argue that a just society is one where everyone is encouraged to act virtuously, and this requires a consistent application of justice. Incorporating justice into our acts of kindness involves a thoughtful balance between compassion and accountability. The Stoics believed in using reason to guide our actions, ensuring that our kindness does not come at the expense of fairness. This means being willing to have difficult conversations, set boundaries, and enforce consequences when necessary. By doing so, we uphold the principles of justice and contribute to the moral development of ourselves and others. Moreover, the Stoic commitment to justice extends to self-justice. We must be fair to ourselves, recognizing our own needs and limits. Excessive kindness can sometimes stem from a desire to be seen as virtuous or to avoid conflict. However, true Stoic virtue is not about external validation but about inner moral integrity. Practicing justice towards ourselves involves acknowledging our right to set boundaries and maintain our well-being, which ultimately enhances our capacity to serve others effectively. In the Stoic view, justice is intertwined with the concept of the common good. By ensuring that our actions are fair and just, we contribute to a society where individuals can thrive and live virtuously. This holistic approach to kindness recognizes that promoting justice is an integral part of fostering a healthy and balanced community. In conclusion, ignoring justice in the pursuit of excessive kindness is a deviation from true Stoic virtue. Justice requires us to hold ourselves and others accountable, ensuring that our actions promote fairness and growth. By integrating the principles of justice into our acts of kindness, we uphold the Stoic ideals of wisdom, courage, and integrity, contributing to a more virtuous and harmonious society. Number 5. Creating dependence. Excessive kindness, though rooted in good intentions, can inadvertently lead to dependence, stunting the growth of those we seek to help. From the standpoint of Stoicism, fostering resilience and self-reliance in others is crucial. The Stoic way emphasizes empowering individuals rather than making them reliant on external aid. Imagine Maria, a compassionate and diligent manager. Her commitment to her team is evident in her readiness to assist with any issue, large or small. Whenever a team member struggles, Maria is quick to step in, offering solutions and often taking on the tasks herself to ensure everything runs smoothly. To Maria, this is an expression of her care and support. At first, this approach seems beneficial. Her team feels secure knowing they can rely on her, and work gets done efficiently. However, as time passes, Maria notices a worrying trend. Her team becomes increasingly dependent on her for solutions, even for minor issues. Instead of tackling problems on their own, they instinctively turn to her. Consequently, Maria finds herself overwhelmed, handling her own responsibilities along with those of her team, leading to burnout and growing frustration. From a Stoic perspective, Maria's excessive kindness has created a dependency that is harmful to both her and her team. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, taught the importance of self-reliance and personal growth. By constantly intervening, Maria has unintentionally stifled her team's development, depriving them of opportunities to learn and grow. Her actions, although kind in intention, have resulted in an unsustainable dynamic that hinders progress. In the Stoic tradition, true kindness is about empowering others to achieve their potential. It involves fostering the virtues of wisdom, courage, and self-discipline. Recognizing the need for change, Maria decides to shift her approach to align with these principles. She starts by setting clear expectations, encouraging her team to take ownership of their tasks and responsibilities. Instead of offering immediate solutions, she poses questions that guide her team members to think critically and develop their own answers. For example, when faced with a challenge, Maria might ask, "What strategies have you considered?" or "How might you solve this problem?" This change is initially met with resistance. Her team, accustomed to her hands-on approach, struggles to adjust. But Maria remains steadfast, providing support and guidance without taking over. Gradually, her team begins to develop the skills and confidence needed to handle problems independently. They learn to navigate challenges on their own and only seek Maria's input when necessary. Maria's transformation is a powerful illustration of Stoic principles in action. By fostering an environment that encourages self-reliance and problem-solving, she helps her team grow stronger and more capable. This not only alleviates her own burden but also cultivates a more resilient and effective team. In Stoicism, the highest form of kindness is one that empowers others and promotes their growth. By enabling her team to develop their own resilience, Maria aligns her actions with the Stoic ideals of wisdom and justice. Her team members, in turn, experience greater job satisfaction and a sense of achievement, leading to a more harmonious and productive workplace. Ultimately, creating dependence through excessive kindness is a well-intentioned mistake. From a Stoic perspective, true kindness involves nurturing the strengths and capabilities of others, encouraging them to become self-reliant and resilient. Maria's journey underscores the importance of balancing support with empowerment, demonstrating that the most profound acts of kindness are those that help others stand on their own. This approach ensures that our actions are genuinely beneficial, fostering growth and well-being for all. Number 6. Loss of authenticity. In Stoic philosophy, authenticity is deeply tied to the practice of virtue and living in accordance with one's true nature. Excessive kindness, when it becomes a facade or a habitual response to avoid conflict, can lead to a loss of authenticity. The Stoics emphasized the importance of integrity and being true to oneself, and they warned against the dangers of pretense and insincerity. When our actions are not aligned with our true feelings and beliefs, we compromise our moral character and the quality of our relationships. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we should strive to align our actions with our principles. This means acting in ways that reflect our true values, even when it is difficult. Excessive kindness, particularly when it involves suppressing our true thoughts and feelings to maintain harmony or avoid disapproval, is a form of dishonesty. It creates a disconnect between our internal state and our external behavior, which the Stoics believed was detrimental to both personal integrity and genuine human connection. When we prioritize being kind at the expense of being authentic, we risk falling into the trap of people-pleasing. This behavior can stem from a desire to be liked or accepted, but it ultimately undermines our sense of self. According to Stoicism, our self-worth should not depend on external validation but on our adherence to virtue and our inner moral compass. By constantly seeking to please others, we allow our actions to be dictated by external expectations rather than our own values and judgments. Moreover, the Stoics believe that living authentically is crucial for achieving inner peace and tranquility. When we act in ways that are incongruent with our true selves, we experience inner conflict and turmoil. This dissonance can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and dissatisfaction. On the other hand, when we are true to ourselves and our values, we cultivate a sense of inner harmony and contentment. This alignment between our beliefs and actions is a cornerstone of Stoic well-being. In addition to its impact on personal integrity, a lack of authenticity can harm our relationships with others. Genuine connections are built on honesty and mutual respect. When we hide our true feelings or go along with things that do not align with our values, we create superficial relationships based on false premises. This can lead to misunderstandings, disappointment, and a lack of trust. The Stoics valued truth and transparency in relationships, believing that these qualities are essential for deep and meaningful connections. Furthermore, the practice of excessive kindness can sometimes lead to enabling behaviors that are not virtuous. By avoiding difficult conversations or failing to set necessary boundaries, we may inadvertently support actions or patterns that are harmful to others. The Stoic virtue of justice requires us to be fair and truthful, even when it is uncomfortable. This means addressing issues honestly and holding ourselves and others accountable to ethical standards. In Stoicism, the concept of eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or living well, is central. Achieving eudaimonia involves living in accordance with reason and virtue, and this includes being authentic. The Stoics believe that each person has a unique role and nature, and fulfilling this nature authentically is key to a fulfilling life. By being true to ourselves, we not only live more virtuously but also inspire others to do the same. Ultimately, excessive kindness that leads to a loss of authenticity is a deviation from Stoic principles. True kindness is not about always being agreeable or avoiding conflict, but about acting with integrity and in accordance with our values. By embracing authenticity, we honor our true selves, build genuine relationships, and contribute to a more virtuous and just society. In doing so, we align with the Stoic ideal of living a life of virtue and inner peace. Number 7. Imbalance in relationships. Excessive kindness can create an imbalance in relationships, where one person gives significantly more than they receive. From a Stoic perspective, relationships should be based on mutual respect, fairness, and the shared pursuit of virtue. When kindness becomes one-sided, it undermines these foundational principles, leading to resentment and dissatisfaction. The Stoics, particularly Seneca, emphasized the importance of reciprocity and balance in human interactions. They believe that a healthy relationship is a partnership where both parties contribute and benefit equally. Excessive kindness that results in an imbalance disrupts this equilibrium. It places undue strain on the giver, who may feel overburdened and underappreciated, while the recipient may become dependent or take the giver's generosity for granted. In Stoic philosophy, the concept of sympathia, the interconnectedness of all human beings, underscores the need for balance in relationships. This interconnectedness implies that our actions affect not only ourselves but also those around us. By consistently prioritizing others' needs over our own, we disrupt this natural harmony. The Stoics taught that we should strive to live in accordance with nature, which includes maintaining balanced and equitable relationships. Moreover, the Stoics valued justice as a cardinal virtue. Justice in relationships means treating others fairly and ensuring that our interactions are based on mutual respect and consideration. When kindness becomes excessive and one-sided, it can lead to injustice, where one person's needs and well-being are consistently sacrificed for the sake of the other. This is not true Stoic kindness, which seeks to promote the common good and the flourishing of all individuals involved. A key aspect of Stoic thought is the importance of self-respect and self-care. The Stoics believe that we must first take care of ourselves to be truly effective in helping others. This includes setting boundaries and ensuring that our own needs are met. Excessive kindness that leads to an imbalance in relationships often stems from a lack of self-respect and an overemphasis on pleasing others. By neglecting our own well-being, we compromise our ability to live virtuously and to contribute meaningfully to our relationships. In practical terms, creating balance in relationships requires honest communication and the setting of clear boundaries. The Stoics encouraged speaking truthfully and openly, even when it was difficult. This means expressing our needs and limits and being willing to say no when necessary. By doing so, we foster relationships that are based on mutual understanding and respect, rather than one-sided sacrifice. Furthermore, the Stoics believed in the development of resilience and self-sufficiency. By constantly giving without receiving, we may inadvertently foster dependence in others, preventing them from developing their own strengths and capabilities. True Stoic kindness involves supporting others in their growth and self-improvement, rather than doing everything for them. This approach not only benefits the individuals involved but also contributes to the overall harmony and balance of the relationship. Ultimately, the Stoic ideal is to cultivate relationships that are balanced, just, and based on mutual respect. Excessive kindness that leads to an imbalance undermines these principles and can result in resentment and dissatisfaction. By striving for balance and reciprocity, we honor the Stoic values of justice, self-respect, and the interconnectedness of all human beings. In conclusion, maintaining balance in relationships is essential for living a virtuous and fulfilling life, according to Stoic philosophy. Excessive kindness that creates an imbalance disrupts this harmony and can lead to negative consequences for both parties involved. By fostering mutual respect, setting boundaries, and encouraging self-sufficiency, we can cultivate relationships that are equitable, supportive, and aligned with the Stoic ideals of justice and interconnectedness. Through this approach, we not only enhance our own well-being but also contribute to the flourishing of those around us. Number 8. Ignoring your own values. Excessive kindness can sometimes lead us to compromise our own values and principles in the pursuit of pleasing others or avoiding conflict. From a Stoic perspective, maintaining fidelity to one's own values is essential for living a virtuous life. The Stoics believed that true integrity and moral character stem from unwavering adherence to one's principles, even in the face of external pressures. Consider Alex, a devoted and caring friend. Alex is known for his generosity and willingness to help others. He often goes out of his way to accommodate his friends' requests, even when they conflict with his own values. For instance, Alex has strong convictions about living a healthy lifestyle and avoiding excessive drinking. However, when his friends insist on going out for drinks and engaging in behavior that contradicts his values, Alex reluctantly joins them, fearing that refusing would make him appear unsupportive or judgmental. Initially, Alex's friends appreciate his willingness to join them, but over time, he feels increasingly uncomfortable and disconnected from his own principles. Each time he compromises his values, Alex experiences a growing sense of inner conflict and dissatisfaction. This behavior is at odds with the Stoic principle of living in harmony with one's true nature and values. According to the Stoics, our moral compass should guide our actions, not the desire for external approval or fear of disapproval. Epictetus, a prominent Stoic philosopher, taught that our primary concern should be our own character and actions, rather than the opinions of others. He emphasized that true freedom and tranquility come from living in accordance with our own values and principles, rather than being swayed by external influences. By compromising his values to please his friends, Alex is sacrificing his inner peace and integrity for the sake of external validation. Moreover, the Stoics believed that each individual has a unique role in nature, and fulfilling this role authentically is key to a fulfilling life. When Alex ignores his own values to conform to his friends' expectations, he is not honoring his true self. This dissonance between his internal beliefs and external actions leads to a loss of authenticity and self-respect. The Stoics argued that maintaining integrity and being true to oneself are essential components of a virtuous and meaningful life. Furthermore, the Stoics valued courage as a cardinal virtue. Courage involves standing up for one's principles, even when it is difficult or unpopular. By consistently compromising his values, Alex is avoiding the discomfort of potential conflict or disapproval, but he is also failing to practice true Stoic courage. The Stoics would encourage Alex to assert his values respectfully and confidently, even if it means facing opposition or criticism. In practical terms, Alex can begin to realign his actions with his values by setting clear boundaries and communicating his principles to his friends. For example, he can suggest alternative activities that align with his values, such as organizing a healthy dinner or a hiking trip instead of going out for drinks. By doing so, Alex not only maintains his integrity but also offers his friends an opportunity to engage in more meaningful and healthy experiences. As Alex becomes more comfortable asserting his values, he may notice a positive shift in his relationships. True friends who respect and appreciate him will understand and support his choices, leading to deeper and more authentic connections. This alignment between his values and actions will also bring Alex a greater sense of inner peace and fulfillment, as he lives in accordance with his true self. In conclusion, ignoring one's own values in the pursuit of excessive kindness and external approval is a deviation from Stoic principles. True Stoic virtue involves maintaining integrity, living authentically, and practicing courage. By realigning our actions with our values, we honor our true selves and cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships. Alex's journey illustrates the importance of fidelity to one's principles, demonstrating that true kindness begins with being true to oneself. This approach not only enhances our own well-being but also inspires those around us to live with greater authenticity and integrity. Number 9. Underestimating self-worth. Excessive kindness can also lead to underestimating one's self-worth, a pitfall that Stoic philosophy addresses with particular emphasis. The Stoics taught that every individual has intrinsic value and that our worth should not be determined by the opinions of others or the extent of our self-sacrifice. Instead, it should be grounded in our commitment to virtue and our inner moral compass. Stoicism places great importance on the concept of self-respect and recognizing our inherent dignity as rational beings. When we consistently prioritize others' needs over our own, we risk neglecting our self-worth and viewing ourselves as less important. This behavior can stem from a desire to be liked, accepted, or validated by others, but it ultimately undermines our sense of self and our ability to live a virtuous life. Consider the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who taught that our value does not come from external sources but from within. He emphasized that our worth is derived from our ability to live in accordance with nature, reason, and virtue. By constantly putting others first and neglecting our own needs, we violate this principle. We become dependent on external validation, which is fleeting and unreliable, rather than cultivating a stable and resilient sense of self-worth rooted in our own values and actions. This underestimation of self-worth can lead to a range of negative consequences. For one, it can cause burnout and exhaustion as we overextend ourselves to meet others' expectations. It can also result in feelings of resentment and frustration, as we may begin to feel unappreciated and taken for granted. The Stoics would argue that this is not true kindness, as it ultimately harms both ourselves and our relationships. Genuine kindness must be balanced with self-respect and self-care. Furthermore, the Stoics believe that each individual has a unique role to play in the grand scheme of things. This role requires us to develop our own strengths and capacities, which is impossible if we constantly undervalue ourselves. By recognizing and honoring our self-worth, we can better fulfill our potential and contribute meaningfully to the world around us. In Stoic thought, the concept of eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or living well, is central. Achieving eudaimonia involves recognizing and cultivating our intrinsic worth and living in alignment with our true nature. When we underestimate our self-worth, we impede our ability to flourish and live a fulfilling life. The Stoics encourage us to look inward and reflect on our virtues, strengths, and potential, rather than seeking validation from external sources. Practicing self-respect and acknowledging our worth also aligns with the Stoic principle of autarkia or self-sufficiency. This principle teaches that we should rely on our inner resources and virtues for our sense of well-being and fulfillment. By grounding our self-worth in our own values and actions, we become more resilient and less susceptible to the fluctuations of external approval. To cultivate a sense of self-worth in alignment with Stoic principles, we can start by setting clear boundaries and prioritizing our own needs and well-being. This does not mean becoming selfish or indifferent to others, but rather finding a balance where we can be kind and supportive without sacrificing our own dignity and worth. By doing so, we can engage in acts of kindness that are genuine and sustainable, fostering healthier and more respectful relationships. Moreover, the practice of daily reflection, as advocated by the Stoics, can help us maintain a clear sense of our worth. By regularly contemplating our actions, values, and goals, we can reinforce our commitment to living virtuously and recognizing our intrinsic value. This practice helps us stay true to ourselves and prevents us from falling into the trap of undervaluing our worth. In conclusion, underestimating self-worth as a result of excessive kindness is a deviation from Stoic principles. True Stoic virtue involves recognizing and honoring our intrinsic value, maintaining self-respect, and living in accordance with our values. By grounding our self-worth in our commitment to virtue and inner moral compass, we can cultivate a resilient and fulfilling sense of self. This approach not only enhances our own well-being but also enables us to engage in more genuine and meaningful acts of kindness. Number 10. Avoiding necessary conflict. Excessive kindness often leads to the avoidance of necessary conflict, a tendency that Stoicism robustly critiques. The Stoics believe that conflict, when approached with wisdom and virtue, is a natural and sometimes essential part of life. It is through conflict that we often encounter opportunities for growth, clarification, and the pursuit of justice. Avoiding conflict for the sake of maintaining superficial harmony undermines the Stoic ideals of courage, wisdom, and authenticity. The Stoic philosopher Seneca asserted that true peace and tranquility are not the absence of conflict but the presence of inner stability despite external turmoil. Avoiding conflict might seem like a path to peace, but it often leads to unresolved issues, festering resentment, and compromised integrity. Stoicism teaches that facing challenges directly and with a clear mind is a virtue, as it fosters personal growth and the betterment of society. When we avoid necessary conflict out of excessive kindness, we are often motivated by fear of rejection, fear of causing discomfort, or fear of disrupting harmony. However, the Stoics remind us that fear is an irrational response to situations that require our reason and courage. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, emphasizes the importance of confronting difficulties head-on, using reason to guide our actions rather than succumbing to fear. For example, consider a workplace scenario where a team member consistently fails to meet deadlines, affecting the entire team's performance. Excessive kindness might lead a manager to avoid addressing this issue directly, hoping that it will resolve itself or fearing that confrontation might harm the team members' feelings or morale. However, this avoidance allows the problem to persist, ultimately harming the team's productivity and morale. The Stoic approach would be to address the issue directly but with compassion and respect. This involves clearly communicating the impact of the missed deadlines and collaboratively finding solutions to improve the situation. By doing so, the manager not only upholds the virtue of justice, ensuring that everyone is held accountable for their actions, but also supports the team's overall well-being and productivity. The Stoics also valued the virtue of courage, which is essential in facing necessary conflicts. Courage is not about the absence of fear, but the willingness to act rightly despite it. Addressing conflicts requires courage to speak the truth, to stand up for what is just, and to foster genuine understanding and resolution. By avoiding necessary conflict, we deny ourselves and others the opportunity to practice and witness true courage. Moreover, Stoicism teaches the importance of authenticity. Avoiding conflict often leads to inauthentic interactions, where we hide our true feelings and opinions to maintain a facade of harmony. This inauthenticity can erode trust and respect in relationships, as people sense when others are not being genuine. The Stoics believe that being true to oneself and others is fundamental to living a virtuous life. Authenticity fosters deeper connections and more meaningful resolutions, as it is grounded in honesty and integrity. In addition, the Stoic concept of logos, or rational discourse, underscores the value of engaging in constructive conflict. By applying reason and open-mindedness, we can navigate conflicts in a way that promotes understanding and growth. Constructive conflict can lead to better solutions, innovative ideas, and stronger relationships. It is through rational discourse and the willingness to address issues directly that we can achieve genuine progress and harmony. To incorporate this Stoic perspective into our lives, we can start by reframing our view of conflict. Instead of seeing conflict as inherently negative, we can view it as an opportunity for growth and improvement. We can practice approaching conflicts with a calm and rational mindset, focusing on the principles of justice, courage, and authenticity. By doing so, we uphold the Stoic virtues and create a more honest and productive environment. In conclusion, avoiding necessary conflict out of excessive kindness is contrary to Stoic principles. True Stoic virtue involves facing conflicts with wisdom, courage, and authenticity. By addressing issues directly and constructively, we foster personal growth, uphold justice, and strengthen our relationships. Embracing necessary conflict as a part of life, we align ourselves with the Stoic ideals of living a virtuous and fulfilling life, contributing to a more just and harmonious society. Number 11. Lack of personal growth. Excessive kindness can often impede personal growth, a principle the Stoics emphasized as crucial for leading a fulfilling and virtuous life. According to Stoicism, personal growth is achieved through the continuous practice of virtue, self-reflection, and overcoming challenges. When we focus too much on being kind to others at the expense of our own development, we risk stagnation and fail to realize our true potential. Consider Sophia, a highly empathetic and caring individual. She is always the first to volunteer her time, offer support, and put others' needs before her own. Her friends and family admire her generosity and rely on her for comfort and assistance. However, Sophia's relentless focus on helping others leaves her with little time for herself. She often postpones her own goals and neglects her personal aspirations to ensure that everyone around her is taken care of. Initially, Sophia finds satisfaction in her ability to make a positive impact on others' lives. However, over time, she begins to feel unfulfilled and disconnected from her own desires and potential. Despite her good intentions, her excessive kindness becomes a barrier to her own personal growth. She realizes that she has not invested time in developing her skills, pursuing her passions, or reflecting on her own values and goals. The Stoics, including philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, emphasized the importance of self-improvement and the pursuit of wisdom. They believed that true kindness includes fostering one's own growth and well-being. By neglecting her personal development, Sophia is not practicing true Stoic kindness. Instead, she is sacrificing her potential and well-being, which ultimately diminishes her ability to contribute meaningfully to others. Epictetus, another prominent Stoic philosopher, taught that personal growth comes from facing challenges and engaging in self-reflection. By constantly prioritizing others, Sophia is avoiding the necessary challenges that lead to growth. She is not giving herself the opportunity to learn, adapt, and become stronger. The Stoics believe that adversity is a powerful teacher and that personal growth often comes from overcoming difficulties and reflecting on our experiences. Sophia decides to embrace a more Stoic approach to kindness, one that balances helping others with her own personal growth. She starts by setting boundaries and allocating time for self-reflection and self-improvement. For instance, she schedules regular periods for reading, learning new skills, and pursuing her hobbies. She also begins to practice daily reflection, as advocated by the Stoics, to evaluate her actions, thoughts, and progress toward her goals. One day, a friend asks Sophia to help organize a large community event. Previously, she would have immediately agreed, sacrificing her own plans. However, this time she reflects on her current commitments and recognizes that taking on this responsibility would hinder her personal growth. She politely declines, explaining that she has other important priorities to attend to. By doing so, she not only respects her own needs but also sets an example of balanced kindness and self-respect. As Sophia continues to prioritize her personal growth, she notices significant improvements in her overall well-being and effectiveness. She feels more energized, motivated, and capable of offering meaningful support to others. Her relationships become more balanced, as her friends and family begin to understand and respect her boundaries. By fostering her own development, Sophia enhances her ability to contribute positively to the lives of those around her. In conclusion, excessive kindness that neglects personal growth is contrary to Stoic principles. True Stoic virtue involves balancing kindness to others with a commitment to one's own development and well-being. By embracing challenges, engaging in self-reflection, and pursuing personal goals, we cultivate the virtues necessary for a fulfilling life. Sophia's journey illustrates the importance of prioritizing personal growth, demonstrating that true kindness begins with nurturing our own potential. This approach not only enhances our own well-being but also enables us to make a more profound and lasting impact on the world around us.